everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gringo Show. Glad to have you back with us. A lot of news happening this week, so let's get right to it. We start the show this week to ask, do you believe there's someone in the sky controlling what happens to us? Come on, that's ridiculous, right? Or you're like me and pretty much every one of us who lives in the central and southern half of Mexico, we've thought about it this week. On the anniversary of both the 1985 and 2017 earthquakes, the ground shook again, this time a 7.7 shaker in the coastal part between the states of Michoacan and Colima. Luckily, there were only 2 reported deaths. There was a lot of destruction in the epicenter, but very little damage in Mexico City. But how, once again, did this happen exactly on the same day as the last 2 quakes? And this one shook. Statistically, there was a 0.00075% chance that the earthquake would happen again. And some people are saying that it happened because we all collectively were all thinking about it. And that's what produced it. But I don't believe that. I'm sure all of us right now are thinking, sex, 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 sex. But am I having sex right now? No. I think AMLO's amulets were probably reacting to his belief that it's a conservative effort to discredit his administration. Who knows? All I know is that next year, the Independence Day holiday falls on a Friday, so we should have an extended puente and should get the out of the city. Get out. But then 2 days later, while we were dreaming at 1:15 in the morning, there was an aftershock of 6.9. Once again, seeing our neighbors in their underwear and bathrobes, which sometimes ain't too pretty. Wakala. Everyone was worried for each other, taking care and making sure the buildings were not collapsed, that everybody was safe, that the city was in control. But there was a bigger concern, and it was much bigger than anything we can imagine. It was how Dua Lipa would feel about our country. Really? She just had finished a concert at Foro Sol and was partying in the Roma neighborhood of Mexico City, and social media lit up thinking, oh my gosh, she must be scared. She must hate us. She's never gonna come back to Mexico. Que pena. But don't worry, if you were nervous about the earthquake when you went back to bed, all you needed to do was to log on to Twitter and watch AMLO take a phone call.
Cualcoman también. Sí.
Oh, did you see how he was holding the phone? It looks like Director of Protección Civil Laura Velázquez Alzúa likes to scream on the phone and hurting his ears. There's only a few days left in this month, and my suggestion to you, and I'm going to, sleep tonight in evacuation gear. And I have the backpack right behind me. Mexico celebrated its 212th birthday last week with the celebratory grito, in which presidents go on a balcony, shout for people who have been dead for hundreds of years to keep on living. Said Miguel Hidalgo in Costilla, I'm 253 years old, leave me alone, I'm fine where I am. And I'm glad Miguel Hidalgo's ancestors were named after costillas and not after Chorizo or Iberajena, because he would have just been harassed and bullied as a child and then maybe not secure enough to start an independence movement. And now he would still be with the Spanish and eating pinchos all day. AMLO also made a peculiar move and shouted, "Muera la corrupción," while spectators gave some pesos to security guards in the Zocalo so they can get a better look at the president. But there is something else, a developing story that could be potentially very scary for the country. We reported in the last episode that the president is moving forward with a plan to militarize the National Guard, essentially putting the policing of the country in control of the military, and continuing a trend that they are now controlling things like ports of entry, a jungle train to nowhere, and your local taco stand. Eat the gringo pastor con queso, or I kill you. This requires a constitutional change, and AMLO did not have the votes to do it until last week, when members of the PRI in the lower house, who had been a strong part of the opposition, to now support the measure and having the votes to pass it. Why would the party want to do it? Said General PRI, now Morena. No sé. It's like a Scooby-Doo episode. You're like, oh. This week, the bill died in the Senate just short of just a few votes, a razor-thin margin that wipes out this idea that the opposition would be able to block the president's agenda moving forward. Now Morena is moving forward with a highly controversial electoral reform with the help of the PRI, in which many thought was dead. This is a bill that critics say would allow Morena to consolidate power for years to come. That does it for this edition of The Gringo Show. Thanks for staying with us. If you've enjoyed the show, please make sure you like us on Facebook or YouTube. We read the papers, watch the news, and scroll through social media to share with you what's happening right here in Mexico so you don't have to. Have a great week.
Gringo, Mexico is laughing thanks to you.